there's lots of things going on in the industry, and I've had this comment from many customers over the last few months is, Avaya, you guys make phone systems and contact centers. It's really not very cool anymore. And, you know, what have you guys got to offer? You know, the world's going into a different unified communications, thin client, soft client, virtualized world. You know, what's your angle here? What are you trying to do? Well, we're going to try and focus still on, well, certainly two of the things. Saving and serving is something that our part of the industry has been doing for a long time. Making people effective with their communications. The private branch exchange was designed and originally developed to simplify and to lower the cost of corporate communications. That's an enterprise and public service communications. That's where it's come from. Of course, contact center and customer service grew from that. Now, we're as guilty as all of the other vendors in the room of making this fantastically complicated over the last 20 years. 800 features on a PBX. Most of you go, you can do 5, Rog. Okay, 800s, you're probably a little bit over the top. Well, they were developed for good reason, different reasons for different people, but we do have to simplify this, and this is our focus point moving forward. So, let's dig into what a PBX is. If you think about a PBX, it really consists of 3 core elements. You have network. This is your ISDN cables coming through the wall, plugging into the phone system, copper cables coming out there going to your analog and digital handsets. That's how it used to be. There's some connection logic in there, allowing you to do dial plans, number plans, routing plans, least cost routing. Useful stuff to make sure it's as efficient, as cost effective as possible. And then, and I know a lot of people are going to find this quite amusing, we have applications which we will, for the purposes of this, say transfer, conference, and hold. Okay? I know it's not quite what most of you think an application to be, but in the good old days, that's really what it was. We wrapped it up into a little box, and it was a circuit-based or ISDN PBX, and some of you have still got loads of them out there, I'm sure. They stand in the corner and they work, but they're not exciting and they're not really modern and UC, are they? They're a bit dull. Okay, let's think about that for a bit more. So what we did with certainly some of the vendors here in the room did, beginning of 2000 or so, or maybe just slightly before, we reinvented the PBX collectively and we built the IP PBX. And to some degree, in some way, we might not have called it a PBX anymore, we might have called it a communications platform, but we've really still got the same fundamental building blocks here. The main difference is the network layer has changed. We've inserted a layer of IP in there, and that's changed things. And I've met some of you before, and many of you will have been in vendor meetings and meetings with Britannic saying, what is the reason to go from a digital phone to an IP phone? What is the business benefit? The real value here is the fact that you can centralize the top 2 parts, the application and the connection logic, somewhere in a data center or in your organization, and you can stretch the PBX to various locations. There's some great business benefits in the fact you have a centralized PBX, which is then distributed using IP networking technology. At the same time, most of the vendors took that top 2 layers, the application and the connection layer, and stuck it onto a nice new server, a shiny new server from HP, Dell, IBM, one of those guys, rather than a great big lump of metal sitting in the corner using lots of electricity. That's fantastic. So that's really where we've been from a voice or real-time communications solution for some time now. Now, we're aware that there's new vendors entering the marketplace, there's other vendors being acquired and exiting the marketplace. There's a lot of turmoil. So what are we going to do moving forward? Well, I sat and thought about this for quite some time, and there is no one-size-fits-all for this. It doesn't work like that. However, we try to show a consistent mode of operation here. It isn't a small or medium enterprise is fundamentally different from a larger enterprise in how they would like to build and do this. So first of all, let's break one or make something slightly more complicated, and I do apologize for that. Let's admit that the applications that organizations wish to run now is not just transfer, conference, and hold. That's not the case. There's instant messaging, there's video, there's unified messaging or unified communications. There's a whole range of other communications modes. Some of them are real-time, some of them aren't real-time. Now, we obviously want to work with both real-time and non-real-time. Our focus is in real-time communications. But we have become a culture of business users who prefer to email rather than use the telephone. And I think that's having an effect on some of our business transactions because we're just being less human than we used to be. So that's definitely the case. So how can we take what is possibly for a number of SMEs a complex IP telephony solution which has a number of components, which has network requirements and gateways and ISDN connections in different locations. This is starting to prove to be quite a complex thing for you to manage. We'll talk a little bit about hosting in a second. But if you are an organisation that wishes to continue to run your own infrastructure or have it run for you on your site rather than going to a cloud-based solution, some of this IP telephony stuff can be quite complex. So what we're in the process of doing now, we actually launched it this week, it happens to be coincidental that Britannic are running a seminar, is we are now having a very strong focus on moving this communications, real-time communications technology into a virtualized platform. And I'm going to give you a little bit more detail about that. Virtualization is obviously quite a hot topic at the moment, and so we've looked at this and sort of traditional off-the-shelf virtualization solutions aren't really designed for real-time comms. They're not designed for voice. And so we have to work on this to make those virtualized platforms effective and appropriate for that type of environment. How do we move forward from our current IP telephony solution, or for those of you who've got a traditional PBX solution who are thinking about going to IP telephony, is IP telephony the right answer for you today? Does it have everything that you need? Is it completely future-proofed? Well, I'm absolutely not here to say that IP telephony is going to die, because it absolutely isn't. The way that some of the constructs are built is going to change. So today, if you buy an IP platform from the majority of the vendors, somewhere in that platform there is a core, okay, a server or servers. Whatever anybody says to you about their solution, of whatever flavour it is, whatever colour it is, somewhere there is a core brain inside that platform. Something has to take ownership of that registration of users, and it is the top authority for all of the routing decisions, okay? So however you dress it up, from whatever vendor, us included, there is a core brain somewhere inside your network, and it's performing some critical functions. Today, those critical functions are in this connection layer, which is talking to phones or clients, or whatever you want to call them, and it's providing those clients with those telephony real-time communications applications. That's a fact, however you want to dress it up in any form of marketing. So how we view this moving forward is we make those applications, of whatever flavour they want to be, independent of that core infrastructure. We have to break this hold between the core underlying, probably pretty boring, connection level routing and administration stuff away from some of the higher value, more interesting and cool looking applications. And this is how we view taking forward the architecture for the larger organisations. For those of you who can read this, you'll see the word SIP all throughout this. I'm not going to bang on about SIP too much, but it is the only agreed signalling standard that across the IT industry has. So it will go in that direction. At what speed is obviously customer dependent, vendor dependent as well.